Even now at the professional level, I'm like, how do people not know like where to move? Like it blows my mind.
What's up, basketball fans? What just happened in Caitlin Clark's interview with Sue Bird is absolutely insane. This wasn't just an interview. This was Clark completely exposing Stephanie White's coaching disasters. This is the coaching expose of the century. Let me hit you with the most devastating quote from this entire interview. Caitlin Clark said this about professional players under Stephanie White. Even now at the professional level, I'm like, how do people not know where to move? It blows my mind still. Stop. The best rookie in WNBA history just said that college players under Lisa Bluder were better coached than professional players under Stephanie White. This is Clark dropping a tactical nuke on White's entire coaching system. Clark spent 4 years watching Bluder teach college kids to move with precision. Then she gets to the WNBA and she's shocked that players don't know basic positioning under White's system. Clark explained why Bluder's players always knew where to move. She really was so intentional about making sure everyone was on the same page and knew what they were doing. When I talk to people about it, I joke like she brainwashed people. Brainwashed. Bluder was so good at teaching her system that players couldn't help but execute it perfectly. She drilled it into them completely. Compare that to Indiana. Miscommunication, blown assignments, players running into each other, and Clark constantly creating miracles because nobody knows where they're supposed to be. The contrast is staggering. Here's where Clark twisted the knife. She described Bluder's system. At Iowa, we're known to have like 5 shooters on the floor at all time, like we played with really good floor spacing. 5 shooters. Perfect spacing. A system built around Clark's strengths. But here's the kicker. Bluder made sure everyone always knew what they were going to do, whether you were the smartest basketball player on the team or you weren't. Bluder created a system so well taught that intelligence level didn't matter. The smartest players executed it perfectly, and the least basketball smart players also executed it perfectly because Bluder's teaching was that comprehensive. White's motion offense requires constant decision-making and perfect communication from all 5 players. But White clearly can't teach it effectively because we see constant confusion and blown assignments. Clark is saying that Bluder could take average players and make them look genius through superior teaching. Meanwhile, White takes professional players and makes them look lost. That's a coaching disaster. This is where things get dark for Stephanie White. Clark described White pulling her for consecutive turnovers and calling it a learning moment. But here's the devastating part. Clark described a play where she wanted to make a spectacular pass but didn't because she could hear White's voice in her head. It was hard for me to not throw that pass. I told her on film, you don't understand how hard it was for me to not throw that. Catastrophic. White has gotten so deep into Clark's head that she's second-guessing the instincts that made her the greatest college player of all time. Clark is fighting her own basketball genius because her coach convinced her it's wrong. Lisa Bluder understood that Clark's risky passes were calculated brilliance. Bluder built her entire system around trusting Clark's instincts completely. Bluder's philosophy: when you have a player who sees the game like Clark does, you teach everyone else to see it the way she does. That's why her players were always in the right spots. White's philosophy? She thinks she can improve Clark by making her more conservative. She's trying to coach the Clark out of Clark, destroying what makes her special. Clark described a fast break where she had Kelsey Mitchell open for an easy layup, but chose to dribble the clock out because White convinced her the situation didn't call for aggression. You don't teach Magic Johnson to stop making no-look passes. You don't teach Caitlin Clark to stop trusting her basketball genius. The most telling moment was when Clark said she wished she could go back to college because it was fun. Playing under Bluder was fun. Playing under White clearly isn't. Under Bluder, Clark had a coach who trusted her completely, teammates who knew where to be, and a system showcasing her talents. Under White, she has a coach who questions her instincts, teammates who don't know assignments, and a system forcing her to play against her strengths. Bluder created an environment where Clark played freely and dominated through instinct. Result? The greatest college basketball career in women's history. White creates an environment where Clark second-guesses herself and gets lectured for making the plays that made her famous. Result? Frustration and wasted talent. Caitlin Clark just told the world that her college coach was better than her professional coach. She compared results, teaching ability, and philosophy, and White came up short in every category. Clark didn't just criticize White, she provided a blueprint of effective coaching through her praise of Bluder. The most devastating part, Clark's longing for college isn't nostalgia, it's a player who misses being coached properly. Stephanie White just got exposed by her franchise player, and there's no coming back from this level of public criticism.